Hello again. So a friend recently asked me about different archetypes in Commander and kind of like what's the difference between some of them, uh, such as like mill and sacrifice, because they're a little similar, but trust me, there's a difference. So I thought it would be a good idea to get on here and make a video, or videos depending on how this goes, on how to build and play certain archetypes in Commander. As a quick aside, this is mostly going to be for newer players and beginners, but I may still get to a couple of points that might help you out even if you're more of a seasoned player. So stick around for some of that, or don't, I'm not your mom. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into our very first one, Spellslinger. Spellslinger is an archetype that revolves around trying to cast as many instants and sorceries as possible in your deck. So getting on to our very first point here, you're going to want to run a lot of like cool permanents that's going to synergize with this kind of spell slinging strategy, like Prowess Otter, Stormkiln Artist, or Archie-Boy over there. And those are all well and good and all. They're the ones that actually make this kind of deck possible. They're the ones that will help you draw cards, make mana, and storm off when you need to. I mean, hell, even your commander is going to be a permanent that's going to do that. But don't get carried away. You don't want to end up with a deck with like 22 instants or sorceries and then 30-something permanents that rely on you casting them. Because trust me, having a hand with no spells to sling and 3 prowess creatures in your hand or on the battlefield is not a good feeling. Now, I'm not going to try and tell you some arbitrary number that you have to stick to because I said so, and that's the way you're going to get the most out of your deck or whatever. However, I will tell you what I do is I run about 10 to 12 permanents, usually creatures, that rely on you casting your instants and sorceries. But it's your deck, and at the end of the day, you get to choose how many you want to put in there. You get to choose how you want to build it, how you want to play it. I'm just here to tell you to be careful because I've done it and it's not pretty. So let's talk about some of the cards themselves. So at this point, you're probably thinking, oh, Carter, what kind of spells and instants and sorceries should I put in my deck? And to that I say, I don't fucking know. But what I do know is how to tell you how you can find the cards that you need to put in your deck by looking at the commander you want to build and also into your soul, but mostly your commander. Take your time to find out what they want to do. Do they care about casting a bunch of little instants and sorceries? Do they care about casting only 2 spells a turn? Do they want to dump all your mana into one big spell? And if your commander doesn't say exactly what it wants and says, oh, I'm fine, it's not a big deal, then slowly starts to resent you because you couldn't fix any of their problems, and then files for divorce, and then she begins to mistreat all the kids because they remind her of you.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Then just find out what you want to do. Do you want to go Mana Geyser into Crackle with Power? Or do you want to cast one small spell that draws you a card and then you make a mana and then you do it again and again until Goblin Balls McGee does your dirty work for you? Make sure you want to know what you want to do. As with any archetype in Magic the Gathering, that there is a bunch of different layers to each archetype and you can't just throw the dart and pick one. Of course, you can pick like Veyran, Voice of Duality or something like that to get just the most generic spell slinging, spell casting kind of stuff like that, but it is important to know what you want. And a great place to find stuff for like the double spell kind of casting stuff is to look at Outlaws of Thunder Junction, as well as our brand new Tarkir Dragonstorm. They even each have a precon totally dedicated to casting 2 spells in a turn. It's almost like they're trying to tell us something. And those sets brought us cards like Stella Lee and Corey Steelcutter and Tygam Master Opportunist, Aligned Heart, and then Breaches. So you want to go ahead and focus on casting 4 to 2 CMC or mana cost spells that can have like a decent effect of like gaining life, drawing a card, doing a little bit of damage, or something like that. And with your cast as many spells in a turn kind of decks, you want to run as many of those 1 CMC and maybe 2 CMC or mana cost cards that you can find as possible. Usually the effect you're looking for is to just draw you a card that's called cantripping, making you a little bit of mana, maybe doing a small bit of damage, something like that. You're not really focused on what the card does itself. Of course, try and find good ones, but you're mainly focusing on the number. It's quantity over quality. So you're not really focused on the significance of each card, rather a great amount of them over the span of time, as long as it has some significant permanents that deal damage or whatever on the battlefield, like we were talking about earlier. And with all of you one big spell guys, you really want to focus on big X spells, like I mentioned with Crackle with Power, extra turn spells, extra combat spells, huge damage spells, and those big X spells that can make you tons of tokens, like deploy to the front. And now to give you guys a couple ideas of like commanders to build if you don't really have an idea quite yet, I've got a couple here you might want to consider. They're usually going to be in a combination of some of the Jeskai colors, red, white, and blue. And they usually can be in any combinations of those colors. They can be red, white for Boros, they can be white, blue for Azorius, they can be red, blue for Izzet, or all three for Jeskai, and any of the mono colors respectively. So you can play any of the Elshas or Narsets or Kaikar for any of your Jeskai builds. Or you could do Mizzix or Veyron or Niv Mizzet for your Izzet stuff. You can also go Firesong and Sunspeaker, Feather the Redeemed or Annex for Boros. You can go the other Kaikar or Chun-Li. For any of your Azorius ones. And then for your mono color, for mono blue, you can do What's-Her-Face that makes the fractal tokens, you can do Tygam like I mentioned, you could do Brawl Chief of Compliance if you're a degenerate. For red, you got Urabrask and Burgi, you've got Ashling Fire Dancer and stuff like that. For mono white, I don't know. We'll get on that. Or if you want to be unique, cool, and different, which I know you do, you can do some cool Gruul stuff with either Wart the Raid Mother, Howling Abomination, which is so cool. On Helio and Helio, the Painter, you could do Riku or Riku. And if you're really ambitious, you could do the Jumpstart Niv Mizzet. But yeah, that kind of brings us to a close. It's a little bit of a shorter one. Let me know how you like this one. If there's anything that I missed that you want me to cover, or anything that I just like completely overlooked, and you want to tell me how dumb I am in the comments, please feel free. Definitely let me know in the comments as well if you like this kind of video and if you want to do more, because I honestly really do. I had a lot of fun writing this one. But yeah, with that, thank you for watching. I'll let you guys go, and good luck spell slinging.